oriented bot lane, and maybe they have more of an emphasis on picking a good mid lane matchup if the top lane matchup is going to be counter pick for TSM. So hopefully they hold out on the mid lane pick and the support pick. Maybe they try to get a really good mid lane party with bot lane playmaking potential. I'm really hoping CLG does that to make this game a lot closer.
I mean, I just want to bring back to kind of what Biofrost was doing a lot last game, was that when he couldn't do anything in lane 2v2, he would roam. He would move a little bit, go towards mid a little bit, and then see if he can do something. If he can, then try to do something mid. If he can't, then go back bottom. And that's what you usually do as a melee support, because you don't want to sit in lane because you can't harass on a turret. You can't really do anything. So we're gonna see. I feel like we're gonna see a lot more of that, especially if there's gonna be a dual melee support, and it's gonna see who can actually affect the map more. And that's probably what's gonna be the highlight between the two supports. Who can actually get the ganks, convert the kills.
You can see Gangplank banned away to make Hauntzer not that person, and of course TSM have been first banning Bard every single time here. They realize that Aphromoo can be a good playmaker, and yeah, maybe he does go for Braum, Alistar, Thresh, Morgana, one of these more aggressive champions, but Bard not going to be when he gets to play here. And we'll see what happens with this one. CLG have gone through their ban.
If Bard wasn't banned, I'd definitely say CLG would be in a great position for Aphro to be on Bard. It's pretty smart by TSM to ban this out, because out of all the champions that are up, I'd say Karma is the best pick for CLG right here, because it does give a lot of the lane party, and it right now it's also a flex pick for Huhi, so it's not giving away all your draft information if you do try to first pick the Karma here, but that's what I'm going to expect.
Yep, and that's locked in right there. So Karma flex, I think it's still maybe 80% of the time goes support regardless, but that option is reserved as we get some shout-out hovers. Hauntzer says, I see you, Huhi.
I don't think blind pick Riven will be
Seems like a bad choice
for TSM's draft.
I think it's a weak choice.
Hey, we did it. Just lost.
Oh,
That's okay.
But the Gnar, though, the Gnar is a really good blind
Gnar
pick,
is
actually.
probably the best top lane blind pick right now.
Yeah.
Just because of his weaknesses. Right now, the weaknesses would be probably GP, and GP's banned.
And Kennen.
Oh yeah,
Isn't Aurelia still good for
I've
that?
seen some
Kennen.
Kennen.
Air quotes Ken. And by the way, if you didn't see, that was very heavy sarcasm.
I mean,
air quotes from Xpecial.
It is the counter pick. Like Kennen is a counter pick, but it's just I've seen some Kennen.
Yeah, true.
I always see Kennen lose that matchup. I'm like, I know Kennen wins this matchup, but
It's just
it
not
looks
happening.
really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Impact kind of went off.
Impact is kind of an insane League of Legends player. I think that one's hard to control right there. Ekko actually picked up. That was the ban that TSM gave up to ban Ashe here, actually. As the Ekko comes in as actually another flex. It's one of Huhi's very favorites, and we know it's a meta top lane.
It actually could be a flex pick. I don't think many teams would consider it a flex, but Huhi with, I think there's like the proto build right now for Ekko mid. It's actually a fairly strong flex pick. Maybe TSM.
What about Lichbane?
Yeah, maybe not expecting it, maybe expecting it, but yeah, right now CLG does have a double flex going for them, which in draft, flexes are always a good thing to have.
Yeah, I love it. We actually saw Ekko mid in the LMS finals this morning as well. I don't think it won, but it did get played, and I always find that very interesting. Braum comes through here, so a different tank support comes in, and basically is this because he ceases against Karma, or is this a new look for Biofrost picking this Braum instead of the Trumbull?
Braum, out of all the melee sports up, I'd say Braum is the more balanced, especially into CLG's team comp. Braum into Gragas is a very good interaction because Gragas, especially when he's the primary engager, Braum counters a lot of his engage, because if he's not CC'd, Braum can always shield the Gragas ult,
up at his
and yeah, it pretty much mitigates Gragas' primary engage. So unless if CLG has a different engage option, Braum will always be able to counter it.
I'm honestly kind of shocked to see. Okay, I was actually going to say Caitlyn was. Okay, I was going to say two things. I was going to say I was shocked to see the Braum against Karma, because that's a horrible lane matchup. And I was going to say I was surprised not seeing Caitlyn recently, because Caitlyn's really good in the Sivir and good with Karma. And in this case, it's actually a perfect pick here. But I mean, if this were Apollo, I would definitely tell him to play Caitlyn. But also, Sixers is a really good Caitlyn, as we saw at MSI. So definitely not surprised with the Caitlyn pick. But it is surprising to see Caitlyn, as we haven't seen Caitlyn at all.
Right.
Even in 6.15.
Do you think this is people tunneling on just the strong meta champion, saying let's just all pick engage tools? Because it feels like a lot of bot lane metagame is just like pick the safe lane, pick the CC, pick the same 3 champs. The rest of the draft is the important part.
Well, I mean, in this case, there were two options, I would say. I would say either go for the Jhin, which is good in Sivir, or go for the Caitlyn, which is good in Sivir. But in the case where they had Braum and Gnar and RekSai, Caitlyn's a lot safer pick here. And because it's going to 2v2 anyways, it's such a lane-dominant lane that I don't know what TSM is going to do. Like last game we saw CLG solo kill TSM's bot lane once. I can see this happening repeatedly, and I expect this game for CLG to pressure bottom and not top.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate for CLG. I feel like the way they drafted, initially it was good. Like the Karma first pick, I definitely agree with, but for the rest of the draft, especially for how the champions interact, right now CLG has a 4 AP comp, and the way I think CLG could have drafted was to take away more, like to maybe take the RekSai, or there's a lot more options besides taking a 4 AP comp and maybe, not committing to a not very synergized comp. Maybe the Gragas first pick did warrant the Braum pick, but I think Biofrost is still going to be comfortable picking Braum into maybe whatever matchup he wants.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's a really tough matchup. Like having played Braum into Karma several times,
yeah,
it's like you can't really do much. He
really
just
rough
pokes
lane.
you the whole game, and I really expect CLG to. If this is the game, if there was a game that CLG should win into this game. Like
Okay.
I thought they had a good chance last game, but this game they have a really good shot.
And that win condition is pressure bot lane, make it win. So because of the bot lane stream, I'm going to ask you really pointed questions, even though there's more to the game. You're Aphromoo, you're playing Caitlyn Karma against Sivir Braum. Give me the top 3 things you need to do in lane to win it.
All right,
Okay,
man, I got a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
What's that word that starts with P?
Priority.
There we go. That's
Okay.
That's the only word we need,
Utilizing
honestly.
priority.
All right. I'm gold 3 support player. I'm not as good as Aphromoo. How do I do it?
I'd say for the professional level, it's actually, you can plan it out a lot how the lane will go. So for example, I could say in this Caitlyn Karma lane matchup, they're not going to want to be doing Gromp. They're going to want to be invading, I mean, not the golems, my bad, since they're blue side. So they don't want to be doing the golems. They want to be invading TSM's Gromp and make sure they don't do it. And by doing that, if they both have even XP and CLG is able to get to lane first, they get the lane shoving in. And the moment they have the lane shoving in, they win the lane because TSM doesn't have an option where they can take aggressive trades without getting severely punished for it. So they're always going to be in the position to win lane. So immediately, CLG wins lane if they do that. But after that, since there's junglers in the game, they have to account for whether or not the jungle is able to gank them. So how you can evade the jungle ganks is by wave control. And what CLG is going to probably be looking for is shoving in the waves for the first 2 waves and having the 3rd wave either bounce back or continue to shove, depending on how the jungle matchup goes. So CLG can kind of mirror what Biofrost did last game, is sending Aphro to go to the blue buff to put that ward. Remember the TSM ward that I talked
ward.
about? And if the Gragas is able to path towards the blue, they can utilize their level 2 priority, invade blue buff together, and take that blue buff as their objective. I'd say against RekSai, blue buff is not important, so I don't think they'll be looking for that play. They'll be looking for trying to get as much CS advantage as they can, and yeah, try to have the wave push into them. It's actually really interesting that they didn't go for the stopping ground, because by doing the golems, they're going to be entering the lane at the same time. So this gives TSM the advantage to maybe fight for the level 2 party. Like
The chance to level first and make it equal.
yeah, so now they actually, it's more of like a 50-50 now. It's whether TSM plays for the level 2, they play really aggro, and it's possible they win this level 2 trade. Because before, when I was talking about my level 1 plan, they would have conceded this.
So the difference between this game and the previous game is that Aphro is actually potting at level 1. So instead of being at like 80% and slowly healing up, just doing natural regen, he's going to go for full HP, so he can actually pressure immediately. And you see, Aphro's playing extremely aggressive because he's using that pot aggressively.
Full health, he can't be all in.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Biofrost now pops his pot, but because he didn't pop it early, he couldn't all in earlier. And that's kind of how you want to play when you have a range versus melee, and you want to actually pressure. You want to use your pots aggressively because you know you're not going to get poked or all in enemy. You want to be full HP at all times.
So not quite the TSM ward, but CLG doing theirs, putting the trinket ward on the Rift Scuttle, so you can see.
And make sure RekSai isn't level 2
when
gank.
Sven comes down there.
Or level 3, my bad.
Yeah, and a specific interaction you saw was Aphromoo saving his mantra Q for when he's like, okay, double's gonna last hit this melee minion. Mantra Q's him in the face when he walks up for the last hit, and he's timing his harass against his own minion health bars, basically.
It looks like CLG is kind of trying to crash this wave, and that's what they really want to be looking for, so that they're... Actually, no, they're trying to get party so they can contest this blue. They're going for the blue invade.
It's important to note, they warded in advance of... There's actually a lot of like, interesting things here, but they warded in advance of their level 3 push, and RekSai can't tunnel over walls until she's level 3 specifically, because it takes 3 different abilities to unburrow and go over, and everyone starts Q. And so knowing that there's no timer in which RekSai could gank before level 3, wards before then, the push comes in, and now, as you had mentioned, you know, it's coming back to them on the 4th wave.
Yep, lane's coming back. So yeah, that's something I kind of missed at level 1. Caitlyn does have a really a much faster camp than other AD carries, and that little extra lead for getting into lane actually made this lane just as winnable as the other level 1 plan that I had. So as long as they got to lane at around the same time DoubleLift and Biofrost got to lane, yeah, they'd be able to have a pretty good time in lane.
And Darshan, though, getting ganked on the top side, has to flash away from this one. Rough spot for him, but that's the case he's got to be in this one here. And so basically CLG got to dictate, like, all these minion waves, the way they're going back and forth in this bot lane, is this entirely CLG making the choice and TSM just making the best they can of the situation?
Actually, no. If CLG really wanted to control the wave, they would have not let the wave crash. Because whenever the wave crashes, the wave always will push back, because that's just how the creeps work.
The waves will meet on their side, reinforcements come in first.
Yeah, so if the creeps meet on your side, the wave will push out, as long as the creeps are even numbered. So there, if the wave crashes and the waves meet on their side, it'll push back to them. So here, they're already building up a wave. They're not really going to use anything with this besides maybe just crashing in and trying to deny creeps. So if they played a little slow here, they might deny a few creeps here, but overall, they're going to be wanting to push this lane in, because this isn't really a good position for CLG to capitalize on good wave control and trying to harass on every creep.
I mean, their goal is just get party and get CS.
Yeah. So right now they're trying to just get CS advantage.
Yeah.
Overall, the CS is about even right now, so I'd say TSM is in a much better position. They're only down about 3 creeps.
Yep.
It's just that with the party bot lane, you always get the better back. And so here, they had a good timing to get BF sword, ran out of base. You can see Karma's already heading towards mid side, actually heading a little bit towards top side. Looks like they're trying to go for the top lane party play. So after getting bot lane party, they made the decision, hey, let's just go for the top lane kind of lane swap. It's not really lane swap since they're just committing to top with Darshan still in the lane. And this is just to pressure Gnar pretty hard. Maybe they can go for a top play. As you can see, Braum's already heading top, because this is a fairly forecasted play. In this meta, if you see the bot lane having a really good recall, the play that they want to do is just go straight to top, because they're up in tempo.
Is tri-lane or quad lane top with the jungler and say, hey, we were first, we have a BF sword, we have a 25-second advantage of your AD carry, let's go really hard on this one. And that's kind of the hope right here. We'll see if it goes well. TSM, of course, reading it.
Yeah, if CLG forces this, it's actually going to be really bad for them. But overall, I think they're just going to crash the lane, send Ekko back bot, and it'll just return to match lanes.
I mean, one big thing is that CLG actually, even though they got priority, they actually lost a giant wave to bot trade. Not a giant wave, but like
they lost
like
a wave.
Yeah,
a wave. So I don't know why CLG is forcing these kind of swaps when they aren't actually getting anything off it. It's a little.
I think it's just more like maybe they weren't screaming against teams that were responding to their lane swaps effectively, because here I think CLG would be in a much better position if TSM was not reading the swap and they went straight back to bot. Like if TSM was heading bot the whole time while CLG was heading top, since obviously TSM doesn't know for sure they're going top, it was basically just kind of like a gamble, and I think CLG thought it was more favored for them, since maybe they're scrimming teams that weren't responding to the lane swap very effectively.
Yeah, it's weird, because game 1 you saw TSM respond to this. Like, imagine CLG went bot lane instead. TSM would have shoved, recalled, walked top, and been like, oh crap, Caitlyn's down there.
Yeah, so
No. The thing is, CLG was so late to bot, they knew they had to be top. TSM pushed up, recalled, and they saw that CLG was not going bot, and then they went top. It wasn't like TSM.
I mean, there was a small timing where they didn't know for sure, but then after a certain point, yeah, it's like, oh, for sure, TSM's top. But there's that little time, it's about 15 seconds to recall and get back to lane. So between the 15 seconds and the wave crashing, there's gonna be a little small window like, hey, I don't know where they are. They're probably going top. Let's just call their lane swap. And then after a certain point, it's, oh, for sure, they have to be top. They're not showing bot, so they're gonna match.
Well, the thing is, CLG recalled so far ahead of time that it was like actually only maybe 5 seconds that they didn't know. And it's just, they should just go like bot. They have the priority. Like they're wasting their time. They're wasting waves. And are they behind in goal? I can't even tell right now. They are, right?
11-4 to 11-7, yeah. They're down 300.
They're down slightly just because of stuff like that. And it's just not worth it for them.
Yeah, well, rough stuff here. Of course, both AD carries managed to get BF sword recalls without missing much. One thing that's interesting, you guys talk about priority and it's sort of having to use the advantage. The earlier wave, when CLG crashed 10 minions into the turret, TSM got every single one of them. At most skill levels that aren't pro, you probably miss half those. Last thing under turret's kind of hard for a lot of players. So the funny thing is, priority just in your generic online game just gives you CS leads.
Oh yeah, I mean, in solo queue, if you're pressuring really hard, you can just keep shoving in the wave, and as long as you have good vision for yourself and you're not gankable, that's the best way to get advantages without getting kills, is harassing them under tower while they're last hitting. In competitive, that's a lot harder to do since you don't really have the best vision for yourself, or maybe the jungler is able to pressure you a lot harder. So actually physically harassing people while they're clearing under tower is actually a pretty hard play to do in competitive. But in solo queue, that seems like a really good strategy, is just have good wards for yourself and just keep pressuring the tower, keep pressuring the champions. Especially like Sivir with such low range, she's gonna have to step fairly far up. You can Karma Q, maybe she'll spell shield, but that leaves Caitlyn Q, Caitlyn traps. Caitlyn traps is really effective for bot lanes when they're shoving under tower. They just Caitlyn trap everything. There's even spots where it's hard to see the traps since the tower is blocking the model. You just want to put your traps there, really try to cement your CS lead, and yeah, keep playing, but don't let yourself be gankable. You have to make sure you have really good vision control if you're looking to pressure your lane that hard.
Now you see the easy pushing that Sivir has with the BF sword, that basically after 7 minutes, that champion becomes almost impossible to push out a lane.
I mean, you can see here that the lane is actually, like CS is dead even right now.
Yeah.
And that's because CLG hasn't completely utilized their 2v2 lane to its fullest potential. A lot of that is because they didn't have like all the information. Like they don't know if RekSai is able to gank. They don't know if, TSM has a lot of tools. If CLG is playing super aggro, they have the tools to just flash on them. Braum can just flash auto. They can start TP channeling, and if they're the first people to TP channel in, they're going to win the fight. So that's why CLG, even though on paper 2v2 matchup, CLG should be winning super hard, they just can't do it because they don't have enough pressure from side lanes or enough information on the jungler being there or not.
You can see the recalls come through. First up for DoubleLift, of course, he had priority, and it means he gets himself Berserker's Greaves, and because Biofrost stops Stixxay's recall, Stixxay is in a bad... The thing is, Stixxay has no support, right? He actually can't fight for this wave. He loses the entire wave, loses a ton of turret damage.
Yeah,
and
TSM is taking advantage of this really hard.
Yeah.
They're coming up top, making sure Stixxay has no chance to farm this, and if they do, they're going to try to force to dive.
Uh-oh, Aphro doesn't take the memo. Rooted up. That's going to be a knock-up soon. I think Aphro's probably dead.
Yeah, he has nowhere to flash. Maybe. Oh, wait.
Ooh, it's close. Actually, wow. Wow, they got the damage back. Huhi showed up and got himself a kill. Hauntzer and Darshan both teleport in, but it means nothing. I am shocked that happened that way.
Yeah, I wasn't really paying attention to where Huhi was. Huhi was right there behind him to back him up. Bjergsen definitely didn't have anywhere near enough damage to one-shot him with Aphromoo's exhaust up.
Makes sense to run away, and CLG now immediately, you can see the three of them all run into the top jungle together. They put as many wards down as they can. Sightstone for Aphromoo, Tracker's Knife for Xmithie, and now you get a ton of wards up here, or at least some, whatever's left in your inventory. And now they get some nice vision top side.
So that was actually kind of interesting. I was surprised that Braum, Biofrost actually stayed in lane instead of walking in with their jungler, with their mid laner for that invade, because initially it was fine to go with the Sivir to make sure the waves pushed in, but once the waves pushed in, you want to walk in with the rest of your team and just get the vision out. But because he didn't, that kill that should have been a free kill ended up being costing them first blood.
Right.
And you can also notice how TSM setting up their vision topside. They have 2 pinks in the normal warding spots for, like, if CLG wanted to put a ward, that's the normal spots they'd put it. So I'd say TSM's game plan is really try to match the lane. Like, they actually, at this point, they really want to match lanes and try and get a fight started. Because usually in bot lanes, at this point of the game, it's not if they're gonna go all in, it's when they're gonna go all in. Because bot lanes, eventually there's gonna be an all in happen. Like maybe Biofrost gets a Q on Caitlyn, and when that happens, they're gonna have to have vision there and have a good maybe TP setup, and that's the sort of play TSM is looking for. But already CLG is trying to dodge out of the lane, go bot side, try and pressure bot. It's pretty good for them to dodge this sort of gank when the TPs are down, I guess.
All right, we'll see how it plays out right here. DoubleLift on the far side up against Darshan. And yeah, neither top laner can really relocate themselves. Hauntzer is going to recall and show up there. DoubleLift will now be the one later to the play.
That was a really greedy recall from DoubleLift because if he had back 20, 30 seconds early, he would be bottom already. But now CLG is going to be able to hammer his turret to almost...
Denies almost a full wave, and the turret's at 2/3-ish.
Yeah, 2/3-ish. I feel like he could have hit it a little bit more, but hey, that's good enough. Yeah. It's just free turret damage, and you just got an extra wave that they didn't. It's just like both teams are kind of misplaying in ways that just loses out slightly in CS, but if one team does it too much, then it's a pretty big lead. But since both teams are doing it, it's not going to be too big of a difference.
It's mostly just when it comes down to like individual play over like macro play. Like there, it was better for DoubleLift to get farm for himself, but as a team play, that's the worst play to do. If he was more macro oriented, he would want to, definitely recall 20 seconds earlier, have the tempo advantage lessen for CLG.
Well, actually, that was because he got canceled by Darshan.
Yeah, I wasn't like that.
No, it's cool. But yeah,
Yeah, sometimes AD carries do that, where they just want to get the farm for themselves. Maybe they want the extra bonus gold for whatever item they're coming up. It's good for them, but it's worse for the team.
yeah, or in some cases, in that case, it was like he just had a greedy back and got stopped by Darshan, and it's like, yeah, maybe it wasn't a greedy play overall, but because he got stopped, that ended up pretty poorly in terms of gold advantage for TSM. But they're still a little bit ahead. They're still in a good spot.
Yeah, right now, whenever Braum is in an even lane, it's really good for him to set up ganks or try and set up any sort of TP play. Right now, they're just playing for party, so they're just shoving in the lane, and they're free to do whatever they want. Right now, they're just kind of sticking in the lane. Looks like they're going to go contest the pink vision. But yeah, right now, TSM bot lane is in a much better position to set up plays.
They got the ultis, they got the hard engage, absolutely. CLG can hope to run away with Monster Shields and whatnot. Looking over at Aphromoo's skill order, he's got 2 points in Q, but now it's 3 into E. I think he probably learned Q level 2 at level 3 or 4 or something, but now he's doing the shield max second.
Yeah, with the
how much
nerfs,
space do you have to like switch?
So with Karma nerfs, I think before the standard was 3 points in a Q and a maxing shield. Some people will even max their Q still, but with the changes to E, you definitely want to be maxing E like pretty much as soon as you can. Sometimes it's better to have 3 points in Q, especially if you're dominating lane. But here, Aphro chose to just try and max his E as quick as possible, because even though you put 2 points in your Q early, you'll still hit level 5 at the same time. So you'll be having the level 9. It's kind of a power spike for your team, because Mantra level 5 is really impactful for the teams, especially for the teams that have to maybe catch up to them or look to pick out people. So over here, if I was Biofrost, right now I'm trying to communicate with my team, hey, I get permanent party here. Like, we can keep pushing them in the lane if we have correct vision, and if you tell me when you're going to get party, I can set up a way for you guys and we can dive bot. So the sort of communication that Biofrost is probably saying right now is, hey, we're pushing this lane, it's going to crash in 10 seconds. Do you guys want me to set up in the next wave? Next wave comes in about 1 minute. And he's probably looking for these like miracle times to try and synchronize himself with the rest of the team and what they want to do. Because right now TSM is in the driver's seat. They have the party lanes. I'd say Lissandra isn't as good at getting party, but with RekSai hovering around mid, I'm actually not too sure how the 2v2 matchup goes, because I'm not that knowledgeable in mid, but if TSM is able to get that mid lane party, bot lane is going to be a really easy dive to go for. So whenever Bjergsen has a timing where maybe Huhi has to recall, Bjergsen will call it out, and they'll try to go for a bot lane dive as soon as they can with the Syndra in base with no TP.
So maybe the first mid to recall means a bot lane dive shows up in the near future. Yep.
So right now it's, again, a lot of focus around mid lane. If at any time Huhi mispositions, gets ganked, even though he probably won't even get killed, at most he might get cleansed, but the most important thing is he gets chunked and he can no longer lane. And when he has to recall, that's when TSM can take over the bot side control, take over Lissandra's party, maybe Lissandra can run bot, and go for the first party play, which is either diving bot, zoning them off bot, and overall just trying to take that first blood and turret gold.
So as I was saying earlier, about the previous game where you want the melee support to have roam pressure, and once the bot lane can push out, if the melee support lane can push up, he can roam so much more easily than a Karma lane, because you're just more safer, you kind of escape, and you just have more CC, you can gank mid, you just have more options available. So the fact that they were able to push up is just constantly just really, really good. And I mean, they even get bot turret here.
It's a race though.
Yeah, but right now, see, that was like the successful play that happened. CLG finally got a successful sort of lane swap. It's just they sent their bot lane top, and TSM didn't respond to it very well. Since Hauntzer was taking an aggressive trade, and he ended up just losing his life for it, getting ganked by 4 people.
I mean, that's the difference too. This game, they're doing it at 17 minutes. Last game, and even this game as well, actually, they did it like 6, 7, 8 minutes. It's basically, you have only 1 item versus a completed 1 item. So like the difference in power spike, the difference in kill pressure is much larger when you're 10 minutes later in the game.
Yeah, it's much easier to kill these plays. Yeah,
exactly.
At this time, it's more easy. Because at the 6-minute mark, especially when TSM could respond to it fairly easily by sending like their support top or just knowing that the gank's coming, it's a lot easier to just sit under a tower and just not get dove. Yeah. But at this time, if 4 people show up in your lane, you just run away. You can't do anything. Even if your jungler's there to help you, there's not much for you to do.
Yeah, I mean, 3rd time's the charm, right? Like, they did actually 4 times that, huh?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, this is roughly the 4th time now. Finally paying off here. Ulted. This might be him actually dying. Heavy CC layering. Still flashes out.
That was actually, I really like that flash. It keeps Bjergsen in the fight. Instead of flashing over the wall.
This is insane.
Yeah, Bjergsen's gonna die.
Biofrost is dead too. I can't believe this actually.
That was.
I keep thinking Aphro's dead.
Yeah, this is the second time. The first time when CLG got the first blood, it was TSM's over-aggression. I'd say I like how TSM plays. It's just they're overly aggressive and not calculating enough. Like they're not calculating, hey, CLG is going to be on the map. And they ended up just losing even more kills for free. That's been 5 kills now. That's almost for free just off of over-aggression.
That's exhausting shield max for you.
Yeah, taking mid tower is actually huge here. Whenever you take one tier tower, the tier 1 tower mid, and you have your own tier up, that creates a huge amount of pressure on the mid laner. Like, imagine if they had a lot of pick options like Ashe. Like, Ashe Arrow on no tier 1 tower is extremely deadly for mid lanes. It just
almost dead.
So much pressure.
I like
this TP. This might be even more over-aggression though.
Bjergsen TP'd in, he gets the root, has to flash away. Okay, here's the Mega Gnar, gets Stixxay on the wall. Stixxay's CC, Stixxay's dead. And Aphro's very low on mana. They can trade back Hauntzer, but Bjergsen's gonna get 1. So that's 2 for 1 so far, TSM. Huhi gets the trade in.
Ooh, that
great self
able to run them down.
Yeah,
they're CLG overstayed.
Darshan, DoubleLift, no Q. No Quadra. I think they rushed get away, but that was still really slick.
Yeah, the CLG overstaying a little bit off of that mid play. They probably might not be communicating that well about their TPs. Like if they were fully aware that Lissandra's TP up, they have a flank ward, we shouldn't overstay here. They have RekSai ult tunnels, we shouldn't be here.
It wasn't even a ward, it was TP to a tunnel.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's like, good luck with that.
They have flank tunnels. Anyways, yeah, those sort of things have to be communicated. So if you're the support, you usually aren't focused too much about clicking in front of you as like maybe the mid laner or the AD carry trying to clear waves. So you really have to be diligent about timing summoner spells and knowing what the enemy team can do with their summoner spells, like TPing in behind, using RekSai ult in. You have to really be aware of what the enemy team can do with their summoner spells or global ults.
Honestly, it looked like Caitlyn could have played that a lot better. She had both summoners, I believe, and if you just flashed a Gnar, you probably could have turned that fight. So even though that was an overextension by CLG, TSM was chasing pretty hard. Like Lissandra had to flash before she really could do anything. And I mean, yeah, CLG may have overextended, but they got mid-turn off that. Stixxay kind of overextended for some far, but they could have actually turned that fight.
Yeah, I think if CLG was fully aware of the TPs and how they'd play out the team fight, that would be very well played by CLG. But for TSM, they went over-aggressive again, but this time it wasn't over-aggressive, it was very well-played aggression.
I mean, to be honest, it looked like Aphromoo was moving down. Like they knew where the TP was coming from, but it seemed like they just kind of misplayed the fight itself.
Yeah, maybe it's more towards that than actually just not calculating the TP and the RekSai correctly.
Yeah, but I mean, they have triple global, so that kind of play is definitely something they're looking for.
And you can't just like never play aggressively, right? Like if you hide in your base the entire time because you're afraid of globals, you just lose automatically.
Oh yeah, I mean TSM's comp is around making high aggression calls. Like having a Lissandra mid against a non-TP lane, you're basically telegraphing, hey, I'm going for these dive plays. I'm going for the flash ult or the TP in flank angles, and with 3 globals and a Sivir Braum lane, like those are the kind of team comps where you're just looking for all-out aggression, which really suits TSM's playstyle. They're not the team to stick around and just farm. They're the team that wants to make the first aggressive call and keep playing, whether they're up in gold or down in gold.
So, gold basically identical, by the way. 36 and almost 37 now for both these squads. Bjergsen just going to wave clear and be safe. And even though CLG, hey, they've gotten +2 turrets, +3 kills, they're the team that's getting out-farmed. It's a 63 minion deficit for Darshan. That's pretty massive.
Yeah, so right now what we're going to see from the lanes, from TSM, they're going to try and set up in a 1-3-1 because they want to utilize Lissandra's split push while having Syndra pressured, because at this point of the game, Syndra does have a decent amount of pressure on Syndra 1v1. I mean, Syndra has a good 1v1 pressure against Lissandra, and TSM's comp works really well in a 1-3-1 scenario. So you're going to probably see Caitlyn and Karma trying to push out Lissandra and rotate mid. It's really up to TSM to respond to how they deal with the mid pressure. It's just that without the tier 1 tower, it's actually pretty hard to deal with CLG's aggression.
You talk about Caitlyn and Karma and the Sivir and Co. like coming mid lane. One thing I've noticed a lot in pro play is the lanes tend to swap like 20 minutes in, and it's the AD carries who play mid, the supports kind of roam between everything, and then like the mid laner goes bot lane or something. Sort of, is that a fairly accurate assessment? Like, how do you think lanes
a lot of lane assignment really impacts the entire game. Like lane assignment is one of like the staples for having good macro. So For TSM, their comp is centered around having a lot of global pressure and a lot of 1-3-1. So right now, Gnar gets party against Ekko, so their win condition right now is have Gnar split push, out split push Ekko, and gain the pressure to either roam mid, get plays off mid so they can look to dive Syndra, or they use that pressure to commit Bjergsen and the bot lane to maybe top or mid, and have that pressure to force outnumbered situations in the mid or top lane. So that's what TSM is looking for in this comp. And so for the support perspective, since you're not actually going to be clearing any creeps, you're just going to be with the AD carry, you kind of have to call out places where you have to get vision to make sure your rotations are clean and make sure you're never in a dangerous position. So right now, the supports, Biofrost, he's probably going to be looking for vision around the lane he's pressuring. So I'd say you definitely want to be pressuring the Gnar lane. And I think with mid lane being clear, they're going to have to clear mid, but once they regain mid control, if they ever do, they'll be wanting to get vision around Gnar.
We'll see if the wards come in there. We can kind of toggle the vision back and forth.
Right now, this was actually a really poor rotation from TSM.
Oh, yeah.
They left open mid wave. Maybe they were looking to flank on them if CLG decided to stay, but
yeah,
actually, never mind. There was no one top, so that was actually a fairly decent play to just let CLG do whatever they wanted mid, since they couldn't get anything off it.
Right. You can kind of look at the various teams' goals as you look at the vision right now. Of course, TSM got the shove back down the mid. They just Sivir ult in, and the Ocean Breaker is just kind of theirs.
Yeah, TSM's playing this doing fairly well. They're getting all sides of the map objectives and not losing anything for it. That's really like the staple of 1-3-1 is getting pressure around the map and not losing anything for it.
That's a big risk in 1-3-1 too, is that you shouldn't be able to do that. You shouldn't have mid pressure, but the fact that CLG pushed up mid and they were scared of the TP flanks allowed them to force them to back off and allow TSM to actually return and get a free objective, which is, I mean, just well played from TSM. I mean, knowing that, I mean, CLG as well for knowing that they can be TP'd on, but at the same time, they lost out on that despite being the ones being aggressive.
Yeah, so for CLG, even though they're getting priority mid, they're not getting anything off it. What they have to do is set up for an objective and commit to the objective immediately. Because if they stall for time, that leaves TSM getting a lot of side lane pressure, and with side lane pressure, they're gonna just crumble and they can't do anything. So what CLG is looking for is getting priority ASAP, grouping at an objective, starting the objective with full vision control, and trying to force the TP flank fights and going for the TP flank fights to win. Because even though TSM has a really strong TP flank option with Lissandra and Gnar, CLG has a way where if they have full vision control, they can look to fight. Like right now, they're gonna
fight this one. Yeah, exhaust on a Bjergsen to stop some of the damage, but Stixxay is gonna get re-stunned, exhausted as well, and he just gets dropped. Darshan tries to fight on the other side, and well, he ults back to somewhere else. He's not even part of this fight anymore. After gonna get slowed down by the Frozen Mallet, quick double kill, and there's the play, right?
That's just TSM playing a lot better.
Showing up.
Yeah, TSM played the, they just saw CLG overextended, they didn't have any vision, and they had the TP flank available, and it was pretty well played by TSM.
Is that Aphromoos' fault for not getting the wards down, or is that just they shouldn't have been there?
They had no other side lane pressure or mid lane pressure, so there they had no idea where the enemy team was, basically, and they just let themselves be in a vulnerable position. That was mostly just a positional error by the bot lane, more so than having no vision control on the map.
I see.
I feel like that's a macro decision. They decided to go top, but then they need the whole team there. They wanted to go in there inside. And they were trying to make a pick actually onto whoever's going top, but it just backfired because TSM was like, we want to make a pick top too, and they had more people. And then it's just a numbers.
Yeah, right there, Ekko's in base. Syndra isn't pushing mid at all. And they just try to look for something, and they just get collapsed on.
Yeah, just RekSai showed up sooner. They had seen Sivir mids, they felt a little bit safe. And just the damage came through too fast, Stixxay couldn't withstand it all. And then whoops, as Ekko goes back to bot lane.
Yeah, that was better than staying.
Yeah. I mean, you die if you stay regardless. But yeah, good run by TSM. And you saw, if you toggle the vision over to the red side, after that kill, they got 2-3 wards down to that jungle. And now they can play around there again and say, oh, we see Karma's up there, we see Caitlyn's up there, we know to our top side. Syndra went to the left side of mid. Ekko's completely alone bot lane right now. We also have mid priority. That's what 2 wards and a minion wave does for you.
Yeah, so I can touch a little bit on like support matchups. So when you're in the bot lane that is like expected to get the priority, like you're in the driver's seat, but it's actually really easy to make a mistake when you're in the driver's seat. Like if you push up like you just did there without any pressure, you can lose all of your pressure at once, and it gives TSM the much better option to make any sort of reactive plays. And when you're in the position where you can make reactive plays and you get them off, you're gonna be in a Yeah, it's a lot easier to play reactive than proactive if you're still winning the game.
Yeah, right now TSM able to set up their own advantages pretty well.
Like TSM didn't have to set up that play at all. They just saw CLG misplaying and they just capitalized on it.
Okay, great.
Well, CLG was probably thinking of a pretty complicated play, like, hey, we need to wait for this party, this party. We have to get vision here, here, and here, and we have to set up this flank fight. Otherwise, we can't utilize this tempo advantage that we have. And while TSM was just, hey, CLG's here, let's go kill him.
Yep. Well, difficult road ahead. Counterlogic Gaming had a few things go well in the mid game, but now they're down quite a bit. TSM able to dedicate lots of resources once again, reacting to. Ooh, wow! Biofrost blocks some of it. Shield comes across. So looking for the play. He's gonna get stunned, gets knocked up. He's running out of health, has to jump away, and they can still kill him. It's close.
That was really good by Bjergsen.
He gets exhausted. It's not too much damage. Zoni has to get away from the stun, and the pick finally comes through. Darshan still winning the back line. It's a 1-for-1 actually, and looks like TSM, Huhi's not going to land the slow.
I hear TSM can just try and back out. I think whoever tries to commit into the other team will be in the losing position. So here TSM is going to stand their ground. Whoever tries to chase into the enemy team comp will probably be in the losing position here for these two team comps.
And they were both able to kite back pretty well.
It's a really close fight. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, they're still trying to pressure on mid. I'd say right now for TSM, they could probably try and hold this if they all stick around. I think they have to like commit to just current wave and just back out.
They're overextending. The TP's up in 10 seconds, and the sun has all up again.
Yeah,
so
CLG is just trying to.
They need to back off right now.
plays.
And now they actually might lose. They might lose Baron for this. Like they're so low, and they decide not to recall. And oof, looks like TSM's walking into their jungle. At least get vision, very least.
Yeah, it's really important for CLG to know when they can get things and when they can't, because whenever you're on the map and you're low HP, you're just not going to be able to do anything, because right there they have to recall no matter what. And TSM is going to be up priority because of this. Like, well, now they're choosing to recall too because they had to overstay, but if they weren't trying to stay and they needed to get vision, they would have regained their vision and been in a better position. I'd say for CLG, if they continue to just not go for like the overstays, if they look to back, like if they synchronize their backs when they can and try to regain control, they'll be in a much better position for this game if they can get their vision down when they can and get their priority right after losing base.
Basically, in this team fight, Afro's job is just get as many shields done as possible. Is he looking for any roots at all outside of just trying to maybe peel a Gnar or something?
Yeah, for Karma, you don't want to be looking for extremely aggressive roots. It's not a very viable strategy to just be on the front line. For range supports, for the most part, you want to be sitting with your AD carry, like adjacent to your AD carry, and just trying to be shielding when you can, using all of your spells off rotation, but also trying to be efficient about your spells. You can't just spam it whenever. You have to be really conscious about, hey, I need to shield here because I need to shield this damage. I need to Q here because I need to slow as he's backing off. Like, I'd say for Karma, like the mentality you should have is wait until someone commits. Like, let's say Gnar jumps in, that's when you want to use your magic slow because it's harder for him to back out if he had his jump up still. And the same thing for RekSai. You want to root him after he uses a tunnel, not before. And for the shielding, the big things would be just the poke. So from Sivir, Boomerang, or if Braum stuns, you just want to use your shields on the front line. But sometimes you want to be saving it for the Mantra speed up, so it's good to keep note of that.
And the more CDR you get, the more opportunities you have to get those spells back up, so you get to be a bit more frequent with your shields.
Yeah, that's really when CDR matters for support, is when you're in these, the team fight isn't exactly starting it, it's right before it, and you use your spells to gain advantages right before the team fight actually starts. So you keep shielding your tanks, you keep looking for pokes, and it'll be up for the team fight, regardless if it's like up or not. It'll be quicker to come up.
And so by comparison, what's the tank support do? Because Biofrost is not the primary engage. He's got a Gnar, he's got a Lissandra, he's even got a RekSai for that. So what are the openings Biofrost looks for?
What he wants to look for is he has to know when the team fight's going to start. He wants to position himself where he doesn't take any damage before the fight starts, and he wants to keep his W on cooldown. Because what's really important for Braum is to hit the CC on important targets like the backline, because using your ultimate on the front line, it is impactful, but it's really not nearly as impactful as follow-up CC for the backline. So let's say Lissandra is getting a perfect flank angle on their backline. Braum has to start moving all the way up, maybe he has to use his W to get into range, but he wants to use his ultimate and his Q to follow up on whatever CC that RekSai or Lissandra's pulling off. After that, he wants to be looking to shield anything that is maybe high burst. For example, Syndra. Braum is really good into Syndra because he can just stand right in front of the ulted target and shield it all the damage. So after he uses his first initial CC, he'll change from follow-up CC engage to healer type role. So that's what Biofrost's mindset is right now. He's looking to follow up when he can. After he's done following up, he looks to only peel and try to save DoubleLift from any Syndra ult damage.
Yeah, Braum is not a good primary engager because his ult just takes too long, and he doesn't have a point-and-click stun or anything like that. He has to get his stacks up. So what you really want to do is let your teammates engage, or you want to be able to flash ult and then try to force some flashes so your team can follow more easily. Stuff like that. Generally, you aren't the one initiating a giant AoE fight.
Yeah, so the key point here is really you have to recognize what your role is on the team. So for Biofrost, his role is not primary engaging. He's not supposed to flash ult engage. That is not his role at all. His role is to follow up engage when Bjergsen and Svenskeren or Hauntzer is looking for a flank engage, and make sure he follows up and utilizes CC really well. Also to use his shield as peel for Syndra stun and Gragas ult. And if he uses his shield well, he'll be able to change the team fight by himself. If Gragas maybe gets a flash stun initiate and he's on the side of where Gragas is going to throw his barrel, he can save his entire team just by being there. Same thing for Huhi. If Huhi was able to get his stun, catch out, Braum can catch up and save Bjergsen or DoubleLift, whoever got picked out. For Aphromoo, it's a little easier to have a easy mindset. His mindset is basically just use his...
Press E on the guy.
Just press E on the front line, make sure you save Mantra when you have to speed up, and save your root for when the melee front line engages and has no escape path.
Yeah. And big thing to note is that as you cast spells and land your spells, you actually get your match up fast.
Right.
Oh yeah, make sure on Karma you always auto attack. That's what I remember watching Faker. Like Faker was playing Karma mid and he wasn't auto attacking people. And if he was auto attacking people, he'd be able to like. I remember one fight he could have carried super hard because he would have had more mantras. But hey, even the best players in the world don't fully understand their champions when they're new to the champion, I guess. So that's something really important to note is when you're playing Karma, keep autoing as much as you can to get that mantra refresh.
And it's okay to auto a tank because it's the same refresh regardless.
Yeah,
but your Q and W are CC, not damage tools.
1 second on your auto attack and 2 seconds of spells.
Right, yeah. So definite important things here. Afro kills off a ward. Nope, Stixxay steals it. What a scumbag. That's okay.
A little tip for Karma too is your match W is actually pretty substantial to bait opponents. Like if you're getting caught out, you want to be saving your mantra for your W because the more they commit to you, it scales off of missing health that you'll get healed and you get healed twice, and the root increases too off of the mantra. So when you're getting picked out, make sure you save your mantra for the root, not for the shield or stun. It's obviously situational, but for the most part, you can use your W to bait enemies who are trying to commit to killing the support.
And we've already seen twice this game, Aphromoo barely surviving a really difficult counter.
TSM's Russian Baron, and that's actually really good since CLG had no vision, and if they're able to get this Baron down before CLG can spawn, that's really
They've got awards, they know what's happening. Yeah, they're gonna peel off for this. Double stun. And here we go, Braum gets the ulti across almost 4 people.
Yeah, that's a good follow-up from Biofrost.
2 kills already for TSM, probably going to be 3 pretty soon. Stixxay's caught out, double kill.
That was great by Biofrost because he was looking for, like I said before, the mentality of follow-up engage. He saw Gnar engaging, and instead of trying to sit by his Sivir or his Lissandra, he went straight for it, followed up on the Gnar CC, and made sure the people who got Gnar ulted aren't going.
Yeah, really nicely done. Again, you mentioned secondary CC, and honestly, like, they just died too fast. Aphromoo couldn't even exhaust someone before he died. That's, I think, you know, a bit of an unfortunate situation to be in where he didn't stop any damage, but he got a shield exactly once, then his team fight just died.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate for Aphromoo. I think his positioning may have been a little too far forward. Like right here is up against the Gnar rooting, and Hauntzer made the best decision to go for just the front line engage because all he wants to do is engage. If he engaged on Stixxay and Huhi and he missed his ult, he would have done next to nothing since he would have been focused in. But yeah, it was a pretty hard call for Hauntzer to maybe go in for the carry amount. Maybe he could have gotten a huge ult on the carry side. But it was well done by Biofrost to be in the right place and follow the CC from Hauntzer.
And that's a Rainbow Elder Dragon now for TSM. They move faster to the regen, they deal more damage. They've got pretty much everything they need.
Yeah, TSM has the real double buffs, and
yeah,
this is really hard for CLG to come back from this push. I mean, if they can hold up from this, they definitely have the potential to come back, but coming back from a double buff, really high pressure engaged comp is gonna be hard.
So does your job change much now as Biofrost? Last game we talked about, Bio's job was group with the team, shove the wave up, ward the sides, but now you've got so much, you just plow down mid at this point, or?
I mean, yeah, when you have gold advantage, a lot of like the safe, like you don't have to play safe. Like here, you can play super aggro. You don't have to be as careful. Like maybe you can just invade by yourself because that's how strong your team is. Like they can just collapse and take any fight they want. So when you're in the stage of the game where you can take any fight you want, you don't have to be as restrictive as just only grouping with your team. Here, I'd say, yeah, you just want to stick around DoubleLift, make sure he doesn't die to any sort of pick potential that CLG might have. And you can just go for these towers. With the Dragon up, I think TSM is just going to look to maybe dive on mid if they decide to hold onto the tier 2.
They are using Hauntzer split push, and in fact, the ward vision right now actually pretty good. TSM can see a lot of that roam down toward Hauntzer, so he's safe to do it. Top got shoved in, mid's already dead. It's mostly a 4-1 it looks like with Hauntzer. Well, actually, no, it is 1-3-1. You've got Lissandra back to top lane.
Yeah, they're going to want to keep using the 1-3-1. TSM's comp is very strong at 1-3-1.
And yeah, he just does what he can to get some wards to watch the flanks. There's, you know, enough vision. Svenskeren helping with the splitting Bjergsen and
yeah, as a support, when there's sieging scenarios happening, the things that you want to be looking for is, A, are we safe to siege this? And the things you have to look for when you're safe to siege is, can they flank us? So you have to ward your flanks and make sure that there's no like critical summoner spells that they can use to engage. Let's say Xmithie has his flash up. The support has to make sure, hey, we're not getting engaged here. Don't get into Gragas flash's range, because that's really the only way CLG can come back is Xmithie does a monster engage and he engages on the carries and they blow up the carries. So that's really what the support has to be looking for is, are they safe to siege and who the wave clear is. So on CLG's side, they have Caitlyn and Syndra, who's like middle tier for a wave clear, I'd say, and they want to be rotating to lane that has the least amount of wave clear. Gnar has plenty of pressure on his own, so you wouldn't really want to rotate to Gnar lane. You just want to go to maybe up to top side when Syndra is busy using her spells on mid lane.
Okay, makes sense. Biofrost zipping out, going for as many tank items as possible. Anything surprising in the items here? Anything you think is worth pointing out here?
I mean, right now, support for competitive is pretty standard. You just want to be rushing Ruby Sightstone into whatever support item is the best at the time. So for both teams, Locket is very necessary. Maybe not so much for the TSM team since they only have Lissandra, but actually I do kind of disagree with Aphromoo since I would much prefer having Michaela's finish first before I went to Locket.
Oh yeah,
because with a Syndra, even though she has cleanse, if you have Michaela's for your carries, you don't really have to worry about getting flanked as much as you should, because having that many cleanses will be able, like even if you get flanked, you'll be in a decent fight position.
Locket's a really efficient item though, so I always try to get it even if it's only 1
yeah, for sure. Locket, there's almost never a bad opportunity to build Locket. Like even if a team is 5 AD team, as long as they have some form of AoE magic damage. For example, if you're in solo queue and they have an enemy team with 5 AD champions, let's say like Jarvan jungle, Zed mid,
Ribbon top.
If they have a GP top, that is a really good game to buy Aegis because your team is not going to want to build MR at all. And GPL is a substantial amount of magic damage. So you're going to want to buy the Aegis for your team so that they can rest easy having 0 MR against GPL.
Yep, and the shield is really good.
Yep, yeah, shield blocks all damage, so.
Yeah, so don't be trying to flame your supports in solo queue if he's building a lock into an all AD team when they have a GP. Like that's still a really good item to build, even though they are all AD team.
Yep. And even though you could get like a 5-man Ardent Sensor shield and like get a bunch of magic damage out, it's just not worth the trade-off.
Yeah, I mean Ardent Sensor, that's probably only good for like all AD teams. Like any team that can use auto text well, that's probably more beneficial. But all items in League of Legends is situational, and for support, it's a little more linear than situational, but. The first thing you want to go for is Ruby Sightstone. It's mostly competitive. I'd say it's completely fine to go any of the others. Maybe Eye of the Equinox. That's still a fine item to buy. It's really good stat efficient. Actually, not anymore since it's Ruby Sightstone. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Only buy Ruby Sightstone. Don't get Eye of the Equinox. But maybe for the armor support, it's better. It might be better to just build the AP. I actually forgot the name.
Eye of the Watcher?
Eye of the Watcher. Yeah, that's fine. That's a pretty good item to build in solo queue because it gives you a lot more gold than having Ruby Sightstone.
and you don't really need the HP stat as much as a tank would. So I'd say if you want to build that item, go for it. But
For melee, Ruby
support,
Sight's
yeah,
100%.
Yep.
I was thinking about it, but no, definitely do not build that. Just
Face
build
the mountain,
Ruby.
lock it, Ruby Sight Stone for every tank ever,
Yeah,
always.
rush Ruby Sightstone. You don't have to finish Face the Mountain if there's a better item available. Like maybe Locket is extremely important. Don't get
Sure.
Face. Get Locket immediately.
Triple AP, lock it first.
Yeah, and maybe there's a team that relies a lot on auto attacks and they're mostly 80. Frozen Heart is a really good item too.
Okay.
And Face the Mountain is fine to complete as your third or fourth item, so it's not that bad to complete them too. So you can just follow down.
Okay. But after maybe, okay, probably still lock it, but yeah, maybe, you know,
Yeah,
find
I mean, it's
bargain
mostly,
somewhere else.
I'd say it could also be like a personal choice. Like maybe he is all right with his team having the cleanses that he has, and Stixxay won for the QSS, and Huhi already has cleanse. Like Locket is definitely not a bad choice here. You can do just as much with a Locket than maybe Mikhail's in the team fights.
Okay. Always curious about that. How about choice of boots? We're seeing, you know, some people go Mobies, some go cooldown. There's a lot of different choices out there.
I think a lot of people have like preference. I always feel like boots is like a fashion statement, just like in the real world. Like you can have your own opinion. My opinion I'd share with you guys is Moby boots is really good for, actually I'll talk about this team fight.
Big AoE shield comes out from the Karma. That's all he gets to do. Now it's just damage output. And TSM is incredibly far ahead, right? Biofrost ults over the top, and CLG's dead. It's a 30,000 gold lead team fight, right? Just ult the team and you win the game.
Yeah, that was
Not that much finesse required. We might get a replay of it afterwards because we might do a post-game team fight, but it's just like Biofrost W's onto the tank and presses R across them, right? Like that.
Yeah.
This is all you really have to prevent for
yeah,
that.
a lot of it's just having the correct mentality when playing support. So you have to just understand your role on support, and it's pretty much just straightforward after that. Just don't look for the wrong things, like don't look for flash engage on Braum. Just look for peeling when you have to peel, and follow-up engaging when you have to.
And there we have it, 2-0 TSM so far. One more, and they will make it 100% of North American Finals for a squad. Every single time, they just find a way to make it work. Certainly this time around, they were the favorites. They only dropped one match, or fans will tell you they went 17-0 in the LCS. The Phoenix won, BO3 never happened, but taking care of business. They haven't lost a game so far in the playoffs this split. It's been a solid team, you know, good stuff for TSM. And I don't know, this game didn't feel as much about the supports. This felt really snowballed. I think TSM were kind of crushing for a lot of it once they got like that one good mid-game fight, and it was Bjergsen got a flank, Biofrost basically made the right choice to follow up, and it was like a 3-0.
Yeah, I think there was still a lot of things to learn from the supports, because even if the support didn't have as much influence as maybe like a primary engaged support would have had this game, there's definitely some key points where if Afro played differently or Biofrost played differently, the result may have been a lot more close.
Okay.
So for Aphromoo, I think the times that he did get cut out, the first time it was fine, since he probably gauged that, hey, I can exhaust Lissandra, I'll be fine. But for the most part, for Karma, you have to be really restrictive about how you position in team fights, because the longer you're alive on Karma, the more shields you can get out, and the longer, the more impact you can have on the team.
Right,
fight.
it's like the opposite of a Braum. Braum wants to absorb and like barely squeak away. Karma, if you take 0 damage, you did your job right because you got 7 shields off and you prevented 2,000 damage.
Yeah, exactly. So
Or
it's more just about understanding your role on the team, and it's a lot easier to be on the secondary engage side, because all you have to do is just follow up on the Gnar engage, the Lissandra engage for Biofrost, and for Aphromoo, you just have to be on the backside, utilizing your spells well and hoping your team can carry you.
Yeah, I think Afro needed to play a little bit more reserved. Like the first 2 times he got caught, he was playing aggressive and he didn't pay for it. He got really lucky, barely lived. I mean, luck or not, maybe he calculated. But as the game went on, yeah, it was definitely very close. As the game went on, it kept happening. But times when it would happen is he would just die, and it's just. I think he's playing a little bit too aggressive. He's kind of playing like as if he's Alistar or Braum, but he's Karma, and he's kind of building like an Alistar or Braum with the Ruby Sightstone. Honestly, I would prefer Eye of the Watcher on the Karma because she does scale a lot of AP and CDR. So, this game didn't really matter, but overall, I think Afro can have a little bit more influence on team fights by just not dying as much.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the real thing was just the bot lane wasn't able to cement any advantage 2v2, and even though it wasn't so much the 2v2 aspect, it was more of the macro sense, because they had to have a lot of information and a lot of priority in other lanes to utilize their bot 2v2 matchup. But even then, the way they played out the lane was not, they didn't get any advantage.
Yeah. All right, so maybe some mistakes here on CLG. TSM doing pretty well in a solid 2-0 victory so far. One more game to go, and TSM makes the finals yet another time. We'll see what happens. But for now, let's check in with our analysts who are breaking down that game.
that. Clearly, you're saying we don't play, right? We're the blue side team. We don't play this. And in face of a Gnar, you're taking the likes of an Ekko and losing out this matchup when, for example, Aurelia is still on the table. You could have first picked that Gnar yourself if you're that afraid of the 1v1 matchup. Maybe they will be now. Maybe they did have more faith in the way that the Ekko would go up against the Gnar, but Hauntzer has shown that he has a very clear understanding of how this 1v1 matchup is supposed to go and is winning out. We'll see if they make adjustments moving into Game 3. The other big thing to note here is the Lissandra pick into the Syndra, and that's what I want to approach. Huhi brings out the blind Lissandra. Bjergsen's response is a Lissandra, followed by a build that is ultra defensive.
So this was the other point that I was saying in the draft. I've been hearing a lot of rumors that people think like Lissandra's one of the best mids in the game, but the thing is it's not like a dominant mid. It just does so much for your team and giving you setup. And going into a Syndra, it's a horrible matchup for Lissandra. And so she basically has to build purely to survive. We saw the early Negatron, Health Crystal, double Dorans for a little bit of mana to be able to deal with the push. And it's not what you're used to seeing out of Lissandra, where you see like the early Abyssal usually, and then their TP flanks are terrifying. We saw Jensen go off. So you have to build it very differently, and that also impacts how you have to play early game.
Well, I think Bjergsen, just being such a dominant mid laner, was able to even win lane with the losing matchup, because even if you build defensively, you should still be on the losing end of that lane, but he was not. He was winning that lane, and just because of the build, he was unable to actually get a lot of kills there.
And it just speaks to his level of play, right? The fact that he has such a versatile champion pool, but even within that pool, he has the ability to play champions in multiple ways. He could play the more assassin-oriented or early pressure Lissandra with a Morelos first, right? He has that option, but he also knows how to play the more defensive style. It did bite him once or twice in the early game. We saw them go for a couple kills onto Aphromoo. The second of which will come at 18 minutes. It's going to be a 3-for-0 for CLG around the Dragon because they assume they have the damage to eliminate Aphromoo. It doesn't quite come through. We'll roll that play out for you. It's a long one. This is a very extended trade between these two teams.
Well, yeah, so basically as they're finishing the Dragon, Bjergsen tries to hop the wall to blow up Aphromoo. Between the exhaust and the build, he doesn't have a ton of damage. He ends up getting turned on here by CLG, and they're going to go for what ends up being a 3-for-1. Or 3-for-0, as TSM has nowhere to go once they get over the wall. They don't get the kill, they run down into where Stixxay is just waiting to shoot him over the wall, and they get this final pick off onto Sven, which they then turn and push up the mid lane.
And this entire push is in the result for the mid lane turret for CLG as well as the bottom turret, but unfortunately they overcommit with a TP from Bjergsen. They're quickly able to respond and just punish what should have been a massive gain for CLG. It just gets turned into a nice advantage for TSM.
And the big problem here is Stixxay not flashing the Gnar ult or healing there. Even if he still dies, at least Huhi would have more health, or someone else is able to continue fighting, because this is relatively close still. Bjergsen almost gets popped, great self-ult to stay in it, and then also Darshan just can't quite finish off DoubleLift. So
mechanical misplay there by Stixxay, but we do get a very clear contrast in what this Lissandra is capable of, right? She's less capable of zeroing somebody out, as showcased by the first time she goes over the wall to kill Aphromoo. But we see the value of that second TP and the flank positioning, as well as the lockdown utility of Lissandra in the second piece of the
I think it's important to note that in those two plays, the overextension from CLG as well as the beginning that they got that advantage at 3-for-0, all those fights were started by TSM. And that's what's happening in these games. TSM is being the proactive team. They're looking for advantages. They're generating their own leads through the laning phase, and then transitioning that into objectives into the team fight, where we are CLG. Their most aggressive play is basically just, hey, let's send everybody to the top side and try to get a turret, which hasn't really resulted. It seems like their playbook is not being able to extend themselves past that moment.
And as this game did take longer to complete, we still saw TSM creating opportunities for themselves. The game-winning, what I will call the game-winning fight, 36 minutes into the game, a 4-for-0 for TSM, plus the Baron, once again, because of all the vision control that they had established and the flanking here from Bjergsen once again.
It's a beautiful teleport from the mid lane ward. As soon as CLG comes in, they turn off, even though they could have most likely finished with Hauntzer going in, and they immediately just combo into the CC from Hauntzer. And the best part about this, with the triple knockup flash from Svenskeren, which is not going to be followed up by that flash on Bjergsen onto Stixxay, just zoning him off, immediately DoubleLift and sees the opportunity. You commit, you see your buddy commit your flash, you go right ahead in, and you both flash for it, turn to Baron, pretty much game.
I think what's interesting when you're saying that like we haven't seen a ton out of CLG, I think it's just that they're used to winning through macro, and there becomes a point where you run into a team that can match your macro and have better individual skill as well. Because we saw in game 1 they had like a control of the dragon area, and TSM was able to manipulate them by pushing up mid lane, whereas maybe lesser teams just face check or opt into just contesting that dragon from a disfavored position.
Right.
And that is really, to me, what separates TSM from some of the lesser teams is not only are they extremely skilled, but they're smart.
Right, and even in that example, a lower tier team might have started the Baron much more prematurely. We saw how long TSM controlled the vision and made sure that Fog of War existed around that Baron for some, 3 to 5 minutes before they even attempt to start it and bait CLG into that fight.
That play is built up 2 minutes in advance with the ward setup, understanding what is envisioned for CLG, what the waves are proper, that they understand who can come in from what angles and how they want to play the fights out, which is all communicated because it's very clearly executed crisply.
All right, so ultimately we arrive at 2-0 for TSM, looking towards Game 3. TSM gets that side choice for being the higher seed, so they're going to opt onto the blue side once again. So swapping back to our original sides. Thoughts here on CLG and how, again, they might be able to extend this series at least to a 4th game. Is it at all possible?
I personally...
It is possible. I told Jad anything's possible. So.
Yeah, technically it's possible. Likely, I think the problem is that they are clearly matched in team skill, and they need to do something individually. So maybe some cheesier counter picks, some heavier focus on laning through these picks, something like that.
All right, so TSM can match you in the team play. It's time to switch things up, maybe look for individual advantages, not characteristic of the typical CLG that we know. We'll see what they decide to do. TSM are up 2 games in the series, so stay tuned to see if CLG can climb their way back into the series or if TSM will close it out and secure a spot in the finals. The LCS continues in just a few minutes.
I want to make sure that everybody's looking out for each other. Everybody's not getting frustrated if somebody messes up. As long as we do that, we'll come together as one, okay?
Gonna give this up, as I said. It's gonna be a little crazy for the fight.
Yes, no push, yes, no push.
Nice.
Nothing.
Oh, there's Peacemaker from downtown coming in from Stixxay.
I'm flashing then. Look at Syndra. Okay, look at Syndra. She has both some.
Lissandra's ulti. Yeah. You guys got it, you guys got it.
Come on, Braum.
Jay, I can speed you,
Okay, we can have too.
Nice.
I'm on karma, Go to Ekko. I want Ekko ulted away. He ulted away.
Yeah, get a karma.
Yep, keep going.
He flashed.
Nice.
But Aphromoo is gonna be the focus here. He goes down in the end. Hauntzer's taking a lot of damage.
No,
She's
blast.
Sonya's.
Just there.
Nice. Go Gragas, go Gragas. Caitlyn! Caitlyn! I'm on
Nice.
Gragas, I'm on Gragas. Go Gragas, Yeah, get Baron, guys.
Go flash. Nice.
Nice, go.
Gragas, Gragas in the window.
Inbot.
TSM knows the focus, knows the priority, and look to Game 3 as game point over CLG.